decisions on your own, and you're making poor decisions, that's one thing. They come knocking on your door, it's easy to turn them down because they can fend for themselves. What about those that can't fend for themselves? Hey folks, thought I'd take a walk today. I am up on the snowmobile trail, and it's a beautiful walk, but it's awful windy. It's just cold. It turned off cold and windy, but the sun is out. Not sure of the temperature, not sure of the wind speed or the wind chill, but it's pretty chilly. And I'm standing off to the side, so maybe you can alert me if a snowmobile comes. I was wondering what you all thought if the shit ever hit the fan. What about the disabled? If you had a loved one in a nursing home like I do, if you have a loved one in a group home where they have one-on-one staff, or one-on-two, two-on-one, those people need 24-hour care. A lot of them depend on medication. A lot of them, like my mother, who has dementia, can't care for herself. If you have someone in a group home, whether it's intellectual differences or a form of mental illness where they have to be taken care of to make sure that everything is going all right, they take their meds. What would you do? What would you do if the shit ever hit the fan and you were already struggling, and if you was able, what about your family members? Would they come home with you? Just the toilet area alone? Even if you had a truck full of attends, adult underwear, adult diapers? Those wouldn't last for as long as you probably needed them to. That would be a hard call. That would be a hard call, because if you left them where they are and everything just went batshit crazy, you wouldn't know if they're being taken care of. How would you know? They probably not live next door or around the corner from you. How would you know they're being taken care of? How would you know that the staff that was taking care of them just didn't say, I'm needed at home? Excuse me. Anyway, I'm betting they don't live next door to you, and if the shit ever hit the fan and the staff went home because they felt they needed to be there with their family through whatever, who's left tending to your loved one? What would you do? Somebody a year or so ago really encouraged me to read 1 Second After. It's a story, but if you haven't read that book, you probably should. You probably should. Because it talks about one of the family members is in a nursing home and what happened when the shit hit the fan. I wouldn't want my family member in one of those facilities if the shit ever hit the fan. Could you go get them to bring them home and then deal with whatever happens at home? but chances are they're on medication, one form or the other. Are they on something for diabetes, heart condition, high blood pressure? Are they on a mood stabilizer? What would you do? What would you do? Now, I've worked in what they call the health field for many years. And I know a lot of those folks in the group homes. A lot of their family said, okay, they're being taken care of. They may be visited once a year. Those people are not going to risk going to get those folks and bring them home. If they didn't want to take care of them when things were good, life was good, they're not going to want to take care of them if, one, they're not set up. Two, they just can't help them. What would you do? You know, I always thought, because I like to, you know, I never panic. My anxiety, I used to have awful anxiety. No, I've honed that in because I don't like the feel of anxiety. I don't like the feel of worry, concern, but I like to think of everything possible that could happen. So when I was working in a group home, and I was in the group home, and I had just got done reading the 1 second after, and I got wondering, you know, if something drastic happened while I was at work. I didn't work next door. I worked quite a ways away. And if something were to happen, my responsibility is not only home, but my responsibility is taking care of the people that cannot take care of themselves. What do you do? What do you do? Do you abandon those people, knowing that the outcome would be painful? It would be considered neglect. You can't leave them behind. And if you're taking care of somebody that's maybe in a wheelchair or elderly, out of shape, they couldn't walk 3 days to my place. I couldn't bring them 3 days to my place. Even if it was summer. What happens if it happened in the winter? What would you do? Something to think about. You talk about hard choices. There's a hard choice right there. It's easier to send someone away if they come knocking at your door. But what if you're away when the shit hit the fan? One, how would you get home? Do you have a plan for that? Would you bring the people you cared for if you worked in the healthcare facility on a one-on-one basis, a residential facility? Would you bring them? Could you bring them? You'd have to bring all their medications. And if it's winter, they're going to get exposed. It's a good question. What would you do? What would you do? Now, I hope I didn't block the snowmobile trail because I have an awful hard time staying still. So, what would you do, folks? What would you do? I'd be curious to hear your response, because we're all human. We all like to look out for those who can't look out for themselves. Now, if you're an adult, you're a healthy, functioning adult, and you're making the decisions on your own, and you're making poor decisions, That's one thing. They come knocking on your door, it's easy to turn them down because they can fend for themselves. What about those that can't fend for themselves?